Everyone's different. I think some people love like that initial shock to their system and they need to go all out, maybe have like, you know, a certain amount of time where they're like, I'm just going to go all in and then I'll back off, kind of like a reset.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I can only speak to myself. That's why I say for me personally, because I feel like everyone's so unique and so different. I would be someone, if I had been out of it for a long time, I would maybe need to go in a little bit slower.
Yeah.
This week I'm going to try a couple different things, see what I enjoy, and then maybe the next week I know I liked doing this, and then maybe I'll add an extra day. And just go slow. Because you have hopefully the goal is that you have the rest of your life to do this, and you want to enjoy it the rest of your life instead of burning out really quickly.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. We are in the new year and it's goal setting time, and it's funny how we start talking about things. Everyone will say, I'm trying to be good and I'm trying to make good decisions and I'm trying to make up for, you know, all of the eating and fun that we had. So it's sort of ingrained in our society to think about it like that. And so I wanted to bring in today Nikki Love. She is a personal trainer at Achieving Your Best, and she's also a yoga studio owner at Sumit's here in town. Nikki, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is the busy season for you, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Very busy.
And so what is it that you're hearing people saying as they're kind of reappearing or resurfacing or coming in for the first time?
Typically, it's I want to get back on schedule. I want to make sure that I'm like hitting these goals, or I'm really trying to lose weight, or things like of that nature.
Yeah. And so will you be busy for a couple weeks, couple months? Does it start to taper off here as the winter goes on, typically?
Yes. At the yoga studio specifically, we'll be busy right until about spring break.
Okay.
And then things will kind of taper off after that point. Okay. With personal training, that is a little bit more consistent as far as like the people who do personal training specifically. As far as group classes, I would say it's about the same. I haven't been there quite as long, but it's pretty similar as far as like very busy season right after the first of the year. And then things typically have a tendency to taper off a little bit.
And so when people are coming in, they already kind of have an idea of what they want to accomplish. Would you say that weight loss is one of the biggest goals that you hear?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit before you came on. We had a dietitian on, and she was just talking about how she wishes it wasn't that way because, you know, being tied to the scale, it can be deceiving. Mm-hmm. Do you see it that way, or do you think it's good to measure progress with the scale?
I do see it that way. I think that that being able to move your body, having mobility is the fountain of youth. And I think that as long as you are able to move in the way that you want to move, you're going to always feel a sense of vitality. You're going to be feeling younger. And I think if we start to place more of a focus on just doing what feels good to you and honoring your body and moving a little bit more intuitively, then you're going to be more likely to stick it out. And you're going to be one of those people that shows up to your yoga studio or your gym 12 months a year as opposed to 3.
When you say intuitively, I think that goes over most of our heads. What do you mean by that?
For instance, if you set yourself a schedule throughout the week and you know on Mondays and Wednesdays I have a personal trainer, on Tuesdays and Thursdays I go to yoga, and on Fridays and Saturdays I take a group class.
It's a pretty big commitment.
Yes, but every day for the most part you're moving your body. Okay. But let's say on Monday you wake up and you know you have your personal trainer, but you are exhausted. You've had a big weekend, you've been running the kids everywhere. Instead of canceling, just have a conversation with your trainer and let them know I'm really struggling today, and they will work with you and they'll keep it a little bit lighter, but you still get to move your body. Same thing when you get to your yoga mat. There are going to be days when you have a lot of energy and you're going to be moving through and you're going to be kind of adding a little bit more than what the instructor is giving you, but some days you're going to get there and you're really tired. Instead of opting out of your yoga class, go there and just move in a way that feels better. Maybe it's a lot of rest. Maybe it's lingering in a posture a little bit longer because that feels better to you. But starting to always show up for yourself, but in the way that feels good to you.
So when you're listing off the movement, it is a big commitment to have that accountability where you're putting it on the calendar that I'm going to do this day, and this day. Because I feel like even me being someone who is invested in movement and health, I do feel like it's the first thing to go.
Yes.
Because it's elective, and work is not elective and the kids are not elective and I have to make dinner. And I feel like it's really easy for your own health to slide down the priority list. And then all of a sudden, well, I missed this week. And so, where do I even go from here? And then you start dreading getting back into it, I feel like. Do you see that a lot? I mean, that's how I feel. It just slides down the list very quickly.
Yes. We see that all the time, especially at the yoga studio, because we'll have people that they've been gone for a couple of years, and it's almost like they might see me or Steph out in public and they're almost embarrassed to come say hi because they haven't been in, which is we are never judging. It's never the case. But then once they come back in and they take that first class, they're like, why haven't I been doing this? I feel so much better when I do it, because you're not necessarily recognizing that you've allowed this to slide. Tension is starting to creep back into your shoulders. Thoughts are starting to run crazy in your brain. The stress is, mounting up, and the body just doesn't feel the same. It's not moving the same because it's so easy to start allowing that to stack. It's kind of like when you don't take care of your car. You don't notice it right away, but then all of a sudden you're having to pull off on the highway because everything's overheating. So I think if you can find a way to make it a priority and then just stick to it, and it becomes something on your schedule that doesn't get shifted around, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And I think grace if it does get shifted.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's like, okay, well, I missed this one.
Yeah.
I'll try to get one tomorrow.
Yes,
kind
absolutely.
of thing. And mix it up a little bit if something pops up that's unavoidable, because life.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Grace is so important.
We have children and they have needs, and things happen. Well, let's talk about that. You talked about, kind of the mindset, a little bit of it, but are you saying just kind of make yourself a schedule, or how would you say is the best way to get into a workout program? Because you and I were talking and I was just thinking about, okay, here I am, I joined a gym and there you are. Well, you don't know how to do anything. You don't know how to set up a program for yourself. I feel like it's like having a car with no key, and that's why you'll see people just kind of come in and they're on the treadmill every time they come in, and they're kind of looking over to maybe the weight section, but don't really want to go over there or know what to do. So what's a good way to get started where you have the confidence to use the gym for yourself?
I think something that is really cool that our community offers is almost every space in town, depending on what it is that you like, has an introductory offer. So there are so many different places that you can go and try out and see, is this community for me? Is this style of workout for me? Am I a group fitness type of person, or would I do better, one-on-one? Or is it a facility where I just go in and I figure it out by myself? Because some people are wired that way. I am not one of them. I am a personal trainer and I need a group fitness class for myself. Like I can help you, but I cannot help myself if I'm left to my own devices. So I think learning to figure out who you are and find what works for you. You want something you're going to enjoy. So having the opportunity to explore all these different places for an introductory offer that could be anywhere from like $20 to $50 for 2 weeks would be a great way to start. Don't be afraid to jump in and try something, because it feels scary and terrifying, but everybody's just excited to have you in their community and to, see you step into that space. So I think for the most part, everyone would be excited to have somebody new step in.
And I think the social side of it is helpful. I mean, I feel the same way that you do. Like it's nice to see some familiar faces that are kind of looking out for you being there, and that maybe you're on the same path. And then you get to meet new people.
Right, exactly.
That's part of it.
Yes, and every community is great, but what feels really comfortable to me in a community might not feel the same for you, and vice versa. So being able to explore those communities too, I think, is important.
When we talk about goal setting, you already kind of hit on the fact that the scale, I mean, it is a way to measure. However, we all have heard, if you're building muscle at the same time that, you're losing fat and things like that, the numbers may not be doing what you're wanting them to. So how do you track progress and how do you set goals?
I think if you are wanting your physique to look a certain way, if that is important to you, then you should be working with a professional that can measure your numbers for you, because just looking at your scale isn't going to give you the information that you want. I think for me personally, a better way for me to track is, how do I feel? Mm-hmm. How is my brain feeling? Do I feel more organized in my thoughts? Do I feel calmer in my demeanor? And do I overall just feel like I have a better energy? Mm-hmm. For me, that's a better tracking system and where I'm at right now for me.
Right. And how do you feel health-wise?
Health-wise, I feel great because I have like a good variety of things in my life. I work out with a personal trainer once a week. I have a couple of days where I go to a group class. I do yoga. And I try to get outside and walk a little bit. So I feel like I try to integrate it all and be intuitive about my movement, where some days I'm working a little harder, some days a little less, but always moving. And those are the things I encourage my clients to do as well.
What about the initial shock, to the system? So let's say that I've been out of all of this stuff and I'm starting something new. How hard is it okay for it to be? Because I feel like you do start these things and you're thinking, this is a nightmare. Like my whole body's hurting, all of the things. Is that normal, or should we find a way to enter a little bit slower?
Everyone's different. I think some people love like that initial shock to their system and they need to go all out, maybe have like, a certain amount of time where they're like, I'm just going to go all in and then I'll back off, kind of like a reset.
Yeah.
For me personally, I can only speak to myself. That's why I say for me personally, because I feel like everyone's so unique and so different. I would be someone, if I had been out of it for a long time, I would maybe need to go in a little bit slower. Yeah. This week I'm going to try a couple different things, see what I enjoy, and then maybe the next week I know I liked doing this, and then maybe I'll add an extra day. And just go slow. Because you have hopefully the goal is that you have the rest of your life to do this, and you want to enjoy it the rest of your life instead of burning out really quickly.
And I think that's a key word too, the enjoy. It has to be something that you enjoy. Otherwise, if it's drudgery every single time that you're dragging in there, maybe you feel better at the end, but if you have that feeling of dread, that makes it really hard to stick with something, I think.
100%. I agree.
So for me, my things are, I do like yoga. Even though I don't like yoga, I like how it makes me feel and the process of it. And I know that I'm healthier because of it. And tennis is my fun thing. So that's, very active for the mind and the body.
Yes.
And I used to be in the group of the boot camp classes and all of that. And I actually did enjoy it, but I felt like it was a little too hard on my frame. It was a little too hard on my body. And so I think, being able to make those adjustments and looking for new things and being able to change as you go helps you stay healthy.
I agree with that. And I think that's really important too, because I think there's also another group of people who have been active their whole life and they're maybe just now starting to feel like, I am burning out and I don't want to keep doing this. And it's not that they haven't been in the gym for months at a time and they're just now trying to figure out how to do this. But instead it's kind of like, I've been doing this my whole life. I don't want to, what am I going to do? I'm starting to burn out. Evolve. Change. Find something new. Back off a little. It's okay to just rest. It's okay to not do anything at 1 or 2 days a week. It's okay to go for a short walk instead, but find what is going to bring you some joy. Yeah. Change it up, and that's okay too.
Okay. Well, talking about evolving, okay, I do want to hit on the word that we've used a couple times but haven't delved into much, which is the mindset.
Okay.
I know you are huge on mindset. You are such a good mindset coach. I mean, even in a group setting where I've taken your classes before. What do we mean when we're talking about mindset, and how do you work on it?
You know, I think it's so different depending on where you are, what you're doing, and kind of where you're trying to go with it in that moment. I'm also a coach, a cheerleading coach, a competitive cheerleading coach. So that when I'm with them, the mindset that we're using is so different than the mindset that we're using in a yoga room where we're trying to decompress. But ultimately, we're always going for how can we be the best version of ourselves in this moment with what we have in this moment. So some days our 100% looks very different than other days. But if we can carry our own load and be there for someone else, I think that that's how we're giving all the energy of our minds that we can possibly give. So it's really easy. What I mean by that is it's really easy to take one scenario and see it as positive, or the same scenario and see it as negative. But if we're putting 100% of energy into the positive aspect of it, most likely we're going to be able to be there for someone else too. If we're putting 100% of energy into the negative aspect of it, there's nothing left to give. And the way that that works, I don't know. It just seems to work. When we can be positive, it seems to spread. And it's not that it has to be like this toxic positivity mindset. It's just that we have to think more like, okay, in this moment, this is what I'm in control of. And I'm going to focus on what I can control. And I'm going to let go of what I cannot control. And even if what I can control isn't necessarily positive, that's what I'm in control of. And so for me, that's what I'm thinking of as like the positive thing. I'm in control of this.
Well, what you're saying is very similar, to the Serenity Prayer. And then a mentor of mine, she always said to separate life into realm of concern. So here's the realm of things I'm concerned about. It might be kind of big. But the realm of control is very small. Because the realm of control doesn't even involve your spouse or children. It's actually just yourself.
Yes.
And so whenever your responsibility gets that much smaller, that takes a load off.
Yes, exactly. So for instance, in the yoga room, we're in control of our breath. And we sometimes can't even control anxious thoughts in the room, but we can control our breath. So we can be there with that, and we can also recognize I'm not in control of my thoughts right now, my anxious thoughts right now, but they're there, and I'm aware of that. And that can be enough. In cheerleading, we can control when we're supposed to do something, but we might not be able to control the outcome of that because maybe somebody wasn't able to get there in time to make the whole stunt happen. Or we also can't control the judge's opinion. We can only control ourselves. And I oftentimes am finding myself telling them, when you're competing, you can't give 110%. You can't give 90%. You can only give 100%. Because if you give 110%, you're going to throw off your partner. And if you give 90%, you're not going to give them enough. Just worry about you. Do what you can do and control what you can control. That's all you can do.
Which expands to all aspects of life.
Exactly.
Not just workouts.
Yes.
Well, Nikki, as usual, you've given us so many different things to think about. And I think the biggest thing about working with you, which the word I used at the beginning, is grace. You're really good at that, even though you don't always use that word. That's kind of what you mean. It's grace for yourself. So when we're looking at getting back into things and going full throttle or just trying to make healthy choices one at a time, would you say routine is a big part of that? Just establishing some new routines?
Yes. I think if you can establish a routine, prioritize that routine.
On the calendar.
That is a great way to move forward and kind of commit to whatever goals that you've set for yourself. Know that once you set the routine, you can move through whatever that is in whatever way you need to. Just show up.
Easy enough, right?
Yeah, easy enough.
Well, and I think too, once those changes, you start to feel those changes, it gets easier.
Yes.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much. I would love to have you back if you're willing. We did get some questions in from viewers and listeners. If you wouldn't mind,
I would love
tackling some of those.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I would love to.
And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you are following us here on YouTube so you can be notified when our next episode drops. It's every Wednesday. You can also follow Around the Ozarks on social, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. And head to aroundtheozarks.com and be sure to sign up for our daily newsletter. We'll see you there.